Good evening, I'm Jeff Lyons. It is 9 o'clock on the dot here on Thursday, February 19th. Time for the 14 First Alert Weather Show at 9. I'm watching your comments on the 14 News Facebook page, so if you have any weather to report, although we didn't have much in the tri-state today, you can hop on there and chime in, and we'll check those out in just a minute. Well, we dodged a bullet. For all of the things that came together or didn't come together, today looked like, at least in the models and even during the day, that we would get some thunderstorms. Most of them, as I'll show you here in a moment, fired to the north of the tri-state. We were in an enhanced risk for severe weather this afternoon, but again, everything kind of hinged on the position of that warm front and where we had really, really good wind shear and other environmental factors. So the bottom line is everything just kind of shifted to the north. Not good for southern or central Indiana and Illinois, but here in the tri-state, we really were unscathed. For the short term here, we will see clearing skies overnight and cooler temperatures, and then much colder for the weekend with temps dropping back into the mid-30s by Sunday. We do return to the 50s next week, which is more in line with what the temps should be this time of the year. Well, there's that radar, still quiet across the tri-state. We had exactly one warning, and it was for the northwestern corner here of Wayne County. It was a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag on it. There was no tornado up there around Zenith, Illinois, kind of out to the west of Sisney. And the real action, happened between about Jasper and Jasper County, Robinson, Illinois, Sullivan, Paxton, Indiana had possible tornado damage, and Bloomington had possible tornado damage out to the west of town near the airport, if you're familiar with Bloomington, not the campus or the football stadium, but out to the west. That would be west of Curry Pike, I believe is the road, and State Road 45 there where it comes in from the west out by the airport, and I think there's an orchard out there too, Melton's Orchard or something like that. Anyhow, that's where all the stuff happened today. A little broader look here, going back 12 hours here, and you see that now we have some tornado warnings way over in Ohio, but everything has pretty well shut down. There are some additional showers kind of creeping up here. They may clip the southern edge there of Muhlenberg County, but I think for the most part, we are done with any threatening weather. You say for the all part, we're done with threatening weather. Tornado reports, there were many across Illinois, and probably more will filter in here in Indiana. In addition, we had some hail and, of course, the wind damage that was expected too. For us, the story will be the big chill returns, and that means it'll feel like winter again tomorrow. We will have sunny skies, so there is that. But only into the mid-40s during the day. That 51 will probably happen at midnight, and temperatures will continue to fall behind the cold front. Saturday up to 47, weekend temps for the highs in the middle 30s. Next week we jump back into the game there with mid-50s and a chance of rain on Wednesday and Thursday. Right now we are still at 68 degrees with a southwest wind, so the cold front has not come through yet. And it actually has not cleared any of the tri-state. We still have temperatures in the 60s at this time. For high temperatures, of course, today we knocked it out of the park, our warmest day of the year, and for February. We were 2 degrees shy of the record, 74 set, I believe, back in 2018. Unfortunately, we've not added any rain, and our drought situation is the same. We are abnormally dry across the tri-state. Now a little over 2 inches behind the 8 ball there for the year, and 1.5 inches behind normal for the month. The bigger picture shows some snow up here, wintry weather on the backside of that low pressure. That'll move away from us. We're not looking at significant snow here. By tomorrow at this time, the cold front will be well to our west, or east rather, and we may see some little tag-along snow showers coming through on Saturday. But again, not much moisture, so we won't expect any accumulation or travel problems from that. The GFS model then through the remainder of the weekend, after that little bout of snow showers or flurries, we get dry and northwesterly winds through Sunday. That's why it's going to be so cold. Next week then, winds back around to the south, and we will get that temperature back about where it should be for this time of the year. The European model also dry through the weekend. No hint of snow in that one, with partly cloudy skies then to start next week, and maybe a little rain there Wednesday night and Thursday. For tonight, I expect us to get back to about 40 as the clouds clear out. 51 early, and then falling temperatures during the day. Next 7 days, we have high temps in the middle 40s over the weekend, and then returning to the middle 50s next week, or middle 30s over the weekend, and then warming up next week. The long-range temperature outlook through the 5th of March shows a return to above average temperatures and near normal rainfall, although I'm questioning that because we haven't had much of any rain out there. Hey, we're out of pet pictures again. Send me some, will you? We're going to show Leo here again, the Aussie Doodle, because, well, to be honest with you, I was working on some other stuff, and I looked for new pet pics, did not see any. So we'll let Leo have his day in the sun here on the First Alert Weather Show at 9. Let's see what questions or comments you all have here this evening. And we will start with somebody here. There we go. We've got Emma Rowland says, good evening. Cheyenne Hammonds, good evening. Lenny Howard's on there too. Good to have you. William Raleigh's back. Watched a crazy supercell today. Yeah, it started over Illinois, went through Indiana, north of Carlisle, and all the way up, let's see, to Bloomington. Yeah, it was a huge wedge type tornado, or at least it looked like that in the pictures. The photos from behind, you could see kind of an overshooting top. Although I looked at it, you know, in the volume scan, and it was only about 25,000 feet tall. These were what we call low-topped, highly sheared storms that moved across central Illinois and Indiana. Those have several characteristics. They tend to be fast movers on the ground. They tend, of course, not to get very tall because they shear off, and they tend to produce strong tornadoes. In fact, if you were following along today, the enhanced risk area, which was just north here, it came down to I-64, but on the tornado product, it was a 10% risk, but crosshatched, meaning a few significant tornadoes of EF2 or stronger were anticipated and indeed did fall within that risk zone. Not here in the tri-state, but just a little farther to the north. So I think once the surveys come back, it wouldn't surprise me if that one near Bloomington and the other one there near Carlisle, and is it Carlisle or Carlisle? When I worked in Terre Haute, they always said Carlisle, and I learned that. I called it Carlisle once. I mean, they didn't do that, but yeah, Carlisle. And Paxton, which is kind of up there around Oaktown and south of Sullivan, in that general area. Oaktown's in Knox, so going up a little farther, Freelandville, places like that, it is where the storm came across. And Robinson, Illinois, on the other side of the river. Also near Casey, Illinois. Not Casey, that's how it's spelled, but it's pronounced Casey. Okay, I give you a little primer here on small town pronunciations that you got to know if you're going to be legit in the weather business. You have to get those right. People don't, well, I wouldn't like that if somebody called it by my town by the wrong name or said it wrong. Let's see, Katie Williams, good evening. Suzanne Daly, glad we didn't get bad weather. Me too. Missy Spriggs, wanted to see the storms. They are better than snow. Yeah, they're more dramatic than snow for the most part. Lucas Sigler, looks like Hopkinsville is about to get hit by a storm. Sitting at work in Roberts, I'm seeing the heavy lightning. Yeah, we'll go back to the radar loop here in a second and check that out since you brought it up. And, you know, I've done this a long time, and you just kind of get a feeling in your bones. I can't describe it. But yesterday I just thought, I don't think this is going to happen for us. But, you know, we had all the outlooks and stuff. I mean, I got to, you know, toe the company line somewhat. And I'm not going to push back against the Storm Prediction Center, the National Weather Service. I mean, they have teams of meteorologists that are looking at and analyzing data. And, you know, if they say there's a enhanced risk, well, of course, I'm all in. But then, you know, when the first round of storms never really did much here in the tri-state, I started to have my doubts. But, you know, it was 70 degrees. We had southwest winds. The dew point was almost 60. It was like 58 or so. But, you know, that's how it is. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. Something doesn't kick off. I said on the air that you know, it's like having a tank of gasoline in your car and no key to turn, no ignition, right? And that's just sometimes how it goes. But we like to play it safe here, which is why the alert days, why we talked about it, why we wanted you to be prepared, because it can very easily go the other way. And it's much worse when you say, nothing's going to happen tomorrow, and then you get a tornado. You don't, that's bad. That's almost as bad as saying Casey instead of Casey, Illinois. This is the radar out of Fort Campbell right now. Pembroke, this is Highway 41. And so you're in southern Christian County. Clarksville would be down here. Where's Hopkinsville? There it is. Hopkinsville is right there. And yeah, we do have some storms coming in now. Let me switch the lightning on here. And depending on what product you're looking at, when you look at the storms, they can look much more menacing, for example, if you use a more distant radar. And I'll show you what I mean here. So keep your eye there on Pembroke. I'm going to move it here. I don't know if that'll be in the screen enough, but if the Evansville radar picks it up, well, we'll keep trying here. Maybe we'll get that to work, and maybe we won't. Let's try it a little more here. There you go. And you see how it kind of jumped and it looks much larger? That's because our radar is shooting that storm at a much higher level in the atmosphere. And so oftentimes you'll have a lot more moisture up there or hydrometeors to reflect the radar beam, and it looks bigger than it actually is. So the rule of thumb is you always want to use the radar closest to the storm to sample it. First off, that's going to give you the best low-level information there, what's happening near the ground. And of course, with the radar right there at Fort Campbell, you're only looking at a beam height maybe of 1,000, 2,000 feet, which is much more useful for tornado detection than if we're looking at the storm, you know, at 10,000 feet or so. I'll put the velocity in here. And for those of you that use radar apps, you know, like Radar Scope, Radar Omega, generally speaking, you want to use, for tornado detection, you want to use that storm relative velocity because it cancels out the storm motion so that you can more clearly see couplets and things like that. If I just show you velocity, which I'll do, yeah, you see this wind coming in, but again, that's kind of being damped out by the storms themselves and the motion of the storms. And if we just sample the data here along that bright green, you know, you're seeing 30 and 40 mile per hour wind gusts, which are plausible there with that storm system. So we kind of have to go back and forth. Your product choice and the radar tilt are very important in figuring out what in the world's going on. And if you try to use CC, which is correlation coefficient, or we call it the debris detection, but it's the same thing. This is how the radar is looking for different things that are coming down. So if you have rain coming down, for example, all the raindrops are more or less the same. You're going to get just a red field in there. Now, if you throw a few 2x4s and tree limbs up there, those don't look like raindrops. So the correlation coefficient is lower, and in our case, it would color it in blue or green. Now, you do see blues and greens in there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have debris aloft. You have to use CC in conjunction with your velocity, storm relative velocity, and reflectivity. I hope we're not too far in the weeds here, but I figure if you're watching a First Alert weather show at 9 on streaming, you might be a little more into weather than just the casual viewer that tunes in after Jeopardy. So, and nothing against the casual viewer that tunes in after Jeopardy. I could be one of those. But if you like a little more detail, that we have time to go into that. So I'm back here on just velocity or reflectivity right now, and where you see the reds here is where you would have the heaviest rain in there, the core of the storm. Then if you really want to do a deep dive, is anybody there? Hello? Oh, we're hanging on to our audience. Okay. You could go and look at, and I know you can't do this in radar scope, and I'm not sure on Radar Omega. But what I'm going to show you now, we brand as, what do we brand it as? X-Vision, or basically a volume radar, and it's our 3D radar. So you're looking at the storm in cross-section, right? And notice here, these are only about 15, 20,000 feet tall. The other thing we can do, let's see here. There we go. I'm so vain, I won't put my glasses on here to figure it out, but as we, kind of fly around the storm, you can see over here, for example, where you have this big core, okay, and that's where hail would occur. If that were purple, highest reflectivity, I would be concerned about hail. There's Oak Grove. One thing that is a pitfall of using this product on the air is you can quickly get disoriented, and so I like to keep a line. This is the Tennessee-Kentucky border up here, and it goes east-west. So if I know that thing is about like that, then, okay, I'm putting the glasses on, all right? Maybe it'll make me look smarter, who knows? Anyway, we'll go back here and I'll get that straightened up for you and show you something else here that we can do with the radar. I guess this is in lieu of, well, this is Science Corner. This is how we actually do the thing here. All right, let me get my well, I'm just going to have to do that. So we'll get the camera flattened back out again, and then I'll show you another radar product that you can check out and play around with. And what this is, there we go. So we're going to try to look and see if there's any hail within this storm. And to do that, the product that we're using, even though we call it hail size here, is VIL, V-I-L, capitals letters, and that means vertically integrated liquid. And our color table here, you would be looking for darker greens and yellows for large hail. The VIL number is not, it just depends. Whether there's so many things that just depend, but VIL has to do with how much liquid is in the column, right, of air. And the more you have, or the higher the VIL number, the greater possibility that you'll have hail. Unfortunately, there's no correlation between, like, well, if VIL is 50, then the hail would be ½ inch in diameter. That'd be wonderful, wouldn't it? But it's not possible, because each storm, each environment is a little different. And so you just can't, you have to look at things, what's a good buzzword? Holistically, right? You have to look at all the factors when you're looking at the radar in order to interpret it. It can be done, and there are a lot of great tutorials out there on the internet. The Radar Scope, if that's your app of choice, has a really good education site. You can get on their Facebook group, or you can go to radarscope.com and find that. I'm sure Radar Omega probably does the same thing. But anyway, just a little side note there on how to use the radar. Matt Allen, am I excited about the new SPC outlooks? And what Matt's talking about, and you're going to start seeing this here March the 3rd, is when we show you an outlook today, for example, the tornado risk, and you'll have 5%, 10%, 15%, and so on. And like today, we had crosshatching, where there were EF2 potential in the storms. The new outlooks will have more crosshatching on them, and they will basically break out a risk zone by the highest probability of having a tornado. In other words, it will create kind of a bullseye. Instead of doing it with color contours, which I wish they would, they're doing it with crosshatch. So you'll have them going this way, and then if you have, 2 crosshatches, then obviously a higher probability for whatever weather, whether it's hail or wind or tornado. It'll be a learning curve. We'll try to explain it as best we can. I did a webinar on it, or took a webinar on it a couple weeks ago. It's intuitive, if you do this for a living. If not, it's going to look like a lot of crossed lines and tic-tac-toe playing on the map. But I think after a while you'll kind of get used to it, and it'll make sense. Lucas Sigler, thanks for explaining. Makes it a lot clearer. Oh, good. Okay, I hope it was clear. That's what I'm supposed to do, right? Matt Allen, Radar Omega has 3D volume as well. Okay, I haven't used Radar Omega. A friend of mine over in the control room does, and it looks pretty cool. I think either product, and I don't know what the subscription is on Radar Omega. Those are both paid apps, and I'm not, plugging one or the other. I certainly don't get any commission off of it. But my go-to for many years has been Radar Scope. And because I'm used to that one now, and I have access to the radar here at work, yeah, that's what I do. Another one, if you are really into weather, I mean, really, really, it's GR3. It's Gibson Ridge software, and what it does is it'll give you a 4-panel display, and you can pick your tilts and your products, and you can integrate them. You can do 3D on that. You can do mapping, tracking, and all of those things. It's a really slick product, and oftentimes in TV stations, GR3 will be running in the background. Somebody will be looking at it to do the analysis. The Weather Service uses something similar to that in doing their analysis. AI, machine learning, is being integrated now into the process of radar interpretation. Somewhat, it still is pretty dependent on the radar operator, and these men and women, that are doing the warning meteorology, where they're looking at the radar and saying, yeah, this is going to go, that one's not. You can't imagine the amount of education needed to do that, and I always thought, in talking to the meteorologists down there, they kind of laughed at me at Paducah. I said, well, I thought the radar just had a computer and it, popped up a thing and you threw the warning up, but it's not that at all. Now, there are tools that will trigger, say, for example, a tornado vorticity signature or a tornado debris signature, a TDS, and those will appear on the radar operator's display. So when they look at the radar at the Weather Service, they're seeing a lot more than what we would typically show on TV. Remember, on television, at least on broadcast TV, we really, for the most part, have very limited time unless we're in wall-to-wall coverage. So it kind of has to be simple. You look at it, oh, red's bad. That's pretty much it. But when we're looking at it off air, and we're, like now when we've just got time to chat, yeah, I can show you some of the other things that we look at. And you're constantly comparing and looking at several different products in sort of we call that the workflow, where you're looking at the higher levels, the mid levels, the low levels, and you're looking at velocity, 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 and then you're noting the storm environment, right? Is it sheared? Is it a lot of cape? What is it? So yeah, it's not like making a box of brownies, I mean, there's a little more to it than that. But hopefully, whether that's the case or not, our job here is just to try to explain it in a way that then you'll take action if you need to. Let's see here. Oh, and Matt Allen's a Met student. All right, good for you. Oh, we've talked, haven't we? I thought you emailed me. Let's see, Kevin Canavan, big fan from New Jersey, Clementon. Nice to finally see me live. Well, any day I'm live is a good day, right? Clementon. All right, I don't think I've been to Clementon in New Jersey. I have been to Succasunna. Is that how you say that one? Near the Water Gap, the Delaware Water Gap. We used to know somebody who lived there. I've been to Newark, Trenton, a few of those over the years. But yeah, so glad to have you on from New Jersey. My goodness. Well, let's see what we're sending your way then, since you were kind enough to chime in here. I think you're going to get some of this mess tomorrow when the cold front gets out there to the East Coast. And we'll see if we can find you here on the radar. So for everybody playing along at home, New Jersey is this one right here. And I have spent many summers, vacations right down here at Ocean City. And then we'll drive up over the Memorial Bridge and then up the Garden State Parkway, the the New Jersey Turnpike, all the way up and across. My sister lives right there, so we've made many trips in here. Never took the Garden State. You could take the Cape May ferry and go up that way, which always sounded appealing, but the ferry takes like, I don't know, what is it, a couple hours to get across Delaware Bay there. Interesting, but anyway, that's what's going on there. Well, as long as we've got the big radar up, so most of this stuff really holding together into Ohio. Of course, it's warm there too, and we'll get one more glimpse down here of the Hopkinsville storm. And we have a couple of special weather statements on that. That's what these little lines are in here. So when the Weather Service issues one of those, I can, glasses. I can query that just by hovering over it. And basically a special weather statement is kind of the sub-severe notification from the Weather Service. So in this case, the storm has winds that are at 50, estimated by the radar, and half-inch hail. So both of those would not meet the classic severe thunderstorm criterion, which would be 1-inch diameter hail and or 60-mile-per-hour winds. Okay? Wow. We really got in the weeds tonight. Kind of fun weeds, so okay. Matt Allen uses GR3. I knew he did. Yeah, I was at a conference one time. It's kind of interesting. Well, it's interesting to me. We'll see if this clears out the room. We were up in Iowa, and it was the Severe Weather Radar Symposium, something or other, put on by the National Weather Association. Anyway, we were in a hotel conference room, and they had, the round tables. And there were 2 or 3 tables of National Weather Service meteorologists, and there were a few tables of TV meteorologists, and then EMA guys and stuff like that. And I say guys, there were women there too, EMA folks, let's put it that way. And so the task was, they had 6 hours worth of radar data compressed down to about 3, so everything moved at double time. The radar was up on the screen, and then you logged in on the Wi-Fi, and you could have it in GR3 or wherever you wanted to use it. And your task was to issue warnings for the storms, right? And so, I'm at the table of the TV weather guys, and we're thinking, well, we got to beat the Weather Service, right? Otherwise, why are we here? And we had one guy at the table. You know how that is. If you've ever taken a science class or physics or something, there's always one that knows all the answers, and that's who you want to sit next to. And I had that guy at our table, and I was utterly amazed. I'd never seen GR3 used like that before. And he was able to do a pretty good job with warnings. But of course, the Weather Service Mets cleaned our clocks. They were on it. But it was interesting because it helped us to understand the warning process, which is complex, and there are many steps and decision trees and all kinds of stuff you have to go through. And then the other kind of odd thing about the way the National Weather Service operates is each office has a CWA, which is the county warning area, and those are the counties that they're responsible for. And then, so it's like their jurisdiction, right? So in our case, we've got Paducah, way down here in Kentucky, and they cover the majority of the tri-state except for Du Bois, Perry, Hancock, and Ohio counties. Those belong to Louisville. And that's why sometimes you'll see a warning drawn, and it'll come right up to a county line and stop. Or, more likely, you'll see storms coming along and nothing, and then bang, you get a warning for Perry County. Well, they're looking at the radar from farther away. They can access ours too, but you get into these areas that are kind of between the radars, and you have to make that warning decision based on maybe not the best information, certainly not the kind of info you'd have like if the storm was, say, 20 miles away from the radar. Oh, it's fascinating, and that explains a lot. Sometimes when you see the way warnings are drawn, you'll wonder, well, how come that tornado warning has a perfectly flat line on it at such and such county? Well, that's why, because it belongs to a different office. Matt Allen loves AMS conferences. Oh, okay. Well, those are good too. Any time you're learning is good. Kevin likes seeing, tell me where your town is. I got to remember the name here. Hang on, you put it in all caps. Clementon. Tell me about where Clementon is, and we'll see if it comes up on the big screen back here. My goodness, we're at 9:30 here, not coming up for air. Well, you know, that's the beauty of streaming, right? I'm not going over the Olympics or anything, so we can sit here and talk about stuff like this. Yeah, the National Weather Association, the AMS, American Meteorological Society, they do excellent, not only in-person learning opportunities, but workshops, online kind of stuff. If you really want to do a deep dive, I would suggest COMET modules. That's from UCAR, the University Something Corporation of America. I think that's what it stands for, ucar.edu. And you can take free, it's all free, and you can take classes on radar interpretation, storm structure, mesocyclones, fire weather, cold air damming, sea breeze, land breeze interactions, all kinds of stuff. I mean, you can really, really go down the weather rabbit hole by doing that. I think I just saw a comment come in here, so we're going to find out where Clementon is. Maybe. Maybe he's looking at it on a map to figure out where it is. Well, shoot, I could look at it on a map, can't I? We've all got computers here. Let me see what he says. Matt wants to know if I have thoughts on this year's severe weather season. Well, we are off to a flying stop, you know, with today. If I were sitting in Bloomington, I wouldn't think that. I would think, wow, what's going to happen next? Still hard to say. You know, we're going out of El Nino into a neutral pattern here through the spring and summer, and then La Nina is anticipated in the fall. So anytime we get into that neutral pattern, it's kind of all bets off on what will happen. My gut tells me it's going to be an active severe weather season. Now, that's my gut. And I will counter that by saying I ate a burger and fries from a well-known fast food chain here, and I'm regretting it. Matt Allen, from Asheville, North Carolina. Oh, okay, moved here 2 years ago. Well, then you know all about cold air damming and mountain winds and lenticular clouds and all that kind of stuff. All right, let me see. Well, I'm just gonna find Clementon. How about that? We're full service here. I'll look at it and then we'll get it up on the radar and see where that is. You know, New Jersey kind of gets a bum rap. It's a pretty place. And certainly the parts, I mean, I've been to, you know, Trenton isn't exactly a day at the beach, nor is Newark, but there are some really pretty places there too. Oh, there's Clementon. Okay, so, oh, you're right outside of Philly. Well, let's see. Well, I didn't go by your place because we would have gone up, we would have been on 76, I think, to get on the bridge. But anyway, if you're curious, I will now show you where Clementon, New Jersey is. And of course, our friend in Clementon already knows this, so this isn't going to be news to him. But for the rest of us here in the tri-state, you know, it's a tri-state New Jersey too, New Jersey and Connecticut and New York. So Clementon is right up here. If we go to, I'll go to Philly. Oh, it's never easy to do this on the fly, especially when you're not familiar with the area. I'm a little more familiar with this part of the country than others, but Clementon should populate somewhere right in here. Let's see, we'll go a little closer. And of course, we don't have the radar configured in New Jersey to light up, you know, all the big towns like it would, you know, if we were here in the tri-state. We have it pretty well tuned to show the, you know, the landmarks that everybody knows. Well, I'm not seeing it here. It should be out around Washington. It should be right down in here. What did you do last night? Well, I watched the weatherman try to find my hometown on the radar. Okay, well, I'm coming up empty here. Shoot, that was going to be my big reveal, you know, kind of like in a magic show where I saw the lady in half, but I don't think that's going to happen. Let's pull out. These towns, by the way, on our radar, they come up by population. So what we do in order to make it show, for example, our county seats, is we will go in and kind of tweak those populations so that they're prioritized over other spots, if that makes sense. And that makes the storm tracking a lot more efficient when we're doing it here for an area that we know. Okay, I'm looking one more time, and oh, I'm not going to find it. Well, we did our best, didn't we? Okay. Sorry. Maybe next time. I'll dink around with the radar and see if we can't get that in there. Okay, let me put that back to home. I got to sign off because I got to go over and do the TV thing here in a minute. Let's see if there were any more questions here. Betty said, bring home the tuna. I'll bet she did. We got to get Byron on this show with you one day. Well, you know, that's the thing. We'd have to keep him up real late, or you'd have to get me up real early. And we don't see each other near enough. And when we do, we can't quit talking. So that's never, that's never good either. Anyway, that's all I have for you tonight. So you can sleep tight. No storms here across the tri-state. And I will see you on 14 News at 10. Thanks for joining.